Look at that, Helena.
Okay.
Oh, what's that?
I saw this. I was asking him how do you get on the same playing ground with everyone, and he said, say this. He said, I'm weaker than all of you in some ways, but I'm also stronger than all of you in some ways.
Is this the Lord thing?
Yeah. You develop a relationship with him and he just talks to you. So this is a representation of a soul, and when we give our light to darkness through our agency, it ends there. And there's a figure right here.
Whoa.
And we actually can become that thing. When we do it enough, we become like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
like Darth Vader, right?
We infect everyone around us. And so this is, they're takers. They take light. And this is the giving side the Lord gives. When we give our light to Him, it goes on for eternity. And everyone that's came before us feels it. And time is just, it's when it doesn't matter, things slow way down, and it's like everyone just experiences all of it. And so Christ is here. You can kind of see a figure here. There's his heart and his crown. And then it goes through him and it goes on for eternity. And this is eternity.
I'm singing this to our grandchildren only because what happens is they get onto media and they start playing and it sucks them and their whole personality changes.
Yeah.
And they became angry and short-tempered and very vindictive kind of personality. And to cut that off and bring them back to the light when they become good kid, right? There's a big fight that's going on in them. And the biggest suction I see is this media, these games, all the stuff that is programming them, the televisions, that depicts that to me.
This is interesting. When I see that, I see people marveling at all of this technology. And
false gods, idols we worship, Isaiah is very clear about them.
it's a fight, and with your kids. I get home and my kids are all, I'm like, hey, let's talk. Let's live the life that's in front of you.
So that other side is like a big energy vampire just feeding off of you, or trying to, right? Like a symbiote.
But you're giving yourself.
Through your choices, you're
He doesn't.
you're feeding it.
He takes it in a way, but we, if someone's controlling you or abusing you, they're taking from you, and they're taking your agency, they're taking your ability to prove yourself through manipulation or whatever they're doing, and it's you taking your agency back from them. That's what you're learning. So if someone's causing you pain and suffering, there's another way to look at it. We're learning how to love our enemies.
But
without letting them have your energy.
Yeah.
So there has to be a barrier, right? You can still love them, but without taking their energy of your light.
So when we're trying to control our kids, we're actually pushing them away. It's so hard for me with my own kids, and I didn't think it would be, but I've kind of grown into it, and it feels way more natural. I'm very aware of my ripple effect with my kids, because I don't want to affect them in a way, even through manipulation. I've had to catch myself, but it's a feeling. It's like, nope, don't even go there. And it's hard. You guys all know. And we're all going through this. I mean, it's every day.
The spiritual awareness into every decision, right? Then it really changes it. A lot of times we're just unconsciously reacting to stuff.
Yeah. We like being numb. Like dealing with hard things, it's hard. It's painful sometimes, but when you work through them and actually, truly forgive that person. You can't just say, "Oh, I forgive you." I tried that, and he said that's not how it works. You have to go through all that. You have to work it out, and they caused you all this pain and suffering, and I think they're gonna see that someday.
So do you kind of do your artwork? And that's how you heal?
Absolutely. This is my spiritual gift, and we all have one or two or 10. I don't know.
So is this another painting you're working on? It's not one of these two, right?
Yeah, this is. I had a question. How does this? What does this look like? This is what it's all about, and we'll always be in this position until we are like Christ.
Right.
Or the other guy.
Whoever wins over.
That saying of the Native American that told his grandson, there's two wolves inside you. One is the good wolf and the other is the bad wolf. And he asked, how do you know which one wins? And he said, whichever one you're feeding, right?
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
And that looks like it's being fed there.
There's another figure hiding in here too.
Oh, yeah?
If you go down a little bit more.
Go down.
And I didn't even see it for a long time. I was
The other down,
the other way.
The other way,
Yeah.
opposite way.
the other down.
Let's see. It's,
Oh,
There
yeah,
you
you
go.
can see it.
You can see him now.
Oh, yeah, right there.
You can see him now.
and that freaked me out.
Where's? I don't see
Here
it.
it's
yeah.
right there. Okay, so
That's Christ on the left.
his eye is right here. His other eye is here. His nose is here.
Oh.
It's kind of hard to see,
yeah.
but it's symbolic because you can see this one very clearly, but you can't really see this one.
Is he in the dark?
Oh.
Yeah, he's on the dark side.
Oh,
Okay.
it's spooky looking when you see it.
That's the
His nose is here. His mouth is kind of down here. His eyes are here.
Yeah.
His forehead. This is one of his nostrils right here. His eyes, other eye, mouth down here. But that was, he's sneaky.
The most subtle of
So
all.
it's a
Yeah.
it's a side view,
Mhm.
kind of.
Yeah.
That's what I wasn't seeing before.
I think I see two eyes. You can see two eyes.
It's full on.
Yeah,
It's
and
like,
don't-
it's like looking on the left side of his face.
No, it's straight up and down. You see both eyes.
Once you see the hidden things, that's all you see. Like when people finally see it, they're like, oh my gosh, and then.
You want to go to the second painting?
Yeah, I think we've covered most everything in this.
Yeah.
Can I speak to that really quick, what that means to me? It's so beautiful because it's obvious the dark and the light. You can see the darkness, you can see the light. So discerning the voice that's speaking to you as you're ascending, then progressing through this life and overcoming the natural man, then that determination between dark and light is more subtle, so the discerning is refined. So you can see the image when it doesn't look like there's an image. You can hear the voice that's actually the deception in the subtlety, because you're attuning your discerning abilities to the light. So you can see it, like you just said, you can see it so easily. Once you know it's there, you're like, oh yeah, I can see it. I can discern even the subtlety of the difference of dark and light.
Yeah. So
Is there anyone that can't see that face in the middle?
Well, I just want to know, did you intend on painting that, or
No.
did you realize it later?
this, I saw later. I did this intentionally, and how cool is that I didn't see it. I don't, when I paint something and it's hidden, I don't see it right away, ever.
That
No.
looks like a big crook nose right there.
Yeah, his
And
nose
then
is here.
it's kind of a side view.
Yeah.
Oh, I see it now. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of spooky.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
It's bigger than the other guy.
Yeah, it's large. It's
like
really
he's
large.
just turning and he's looking like this.
Yes.
And you know what's so interesting is you have it coming up of the crown chakra, which is interesting.
Where you would need to discern at the highest
Is that the
level.
alter ego?
Oh,
Yeah,
that
see,
is.
that's other things I
Look at
don't know
that.
about, but I'm learning when I talk to people. They're teaching me all, the truth that's in them, and we're sharing all these things, and I think that's what the purpose.
His face is turned from the light too, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But his one eye's focused on the light, like he
Yeah.
He's
wants
like
more
lording
light.
over this
It's
one
like you're
too.
focused both ways.
Yeah, that's very fascinating.
Okay, how are we on time?
It's, you got 45 minutes left.
Okay.
I have one more question.
Okay.
So you talked about forgiveness. Could you share maybe in your picture where you were drawing that and your experience with that? Maybe-
Forgiveness.
Well, you were talking about how when you have to forgive someone and you work through that through your art. And I was wondering if you had an example in your art, you could talk about that.
So not that it's in the art, but it's in me, and it came out in my art. A lot of these really passionate things that happened in my life. My low points, my lowest points, and my highest points are all, those were necessary so that when people look at these, they feel it. And that's how much passion can be inside of you when you're doing something like this, when you're sharing your gift with others and learning and growing all the time, and having a deep focus on what the Lord wants you to do, because everyone can help at least one person, and we're going to affect at least one person. And how are we affecting that person? And so I do construction, and you all know that never goes right. I get in fights, I disagree, there's money issues. So I've had a few experiences in construction where people are my enemy, and I had I don't want to bring up names, but the situation was we just disagreed on some things, and I thought I was right and he thought he was right, and so we just I was really close to this guy, and I still am today, and he taught me a lot, and I wanted to leave things peaceful. I don't ever like burning bridges, so I gave up some things, and so did he, and I left. And about 6 months after that, I was driving past their house, and I had this prompting to go apologize again, and I drove all the way home with this prompting just getting stronger and stronger, and I turned around and I went all the way back to Mapleton from Provo, and I knocked on his door, and when he opened his door and saw me, it was like, what are you doing here? And I just said, I came here to apologize, and if there's anything I did, I'm sorry. I know I make mistakes. And we just sat on his porch and had this spiritual conversation, and now when I see him, I shake his hand and we talk, and there's no hard feelings, but that was so hard for me to do. And the whole time I was driving back to Mapleton, I was fighting it, and I can't do this. I didn't do anything wrong, but I did. There's always something that if we're in a situation, we're part of it. And whether it's unfair or fair, we can still choose to not let that affect us in a dark way.
And aren't you so happy after you did that?
Absolutely.
You feel different
The
when
whole
you
drive
look
home,
back.
I was just
Yeah.
tears all down my face the whole time. Like, that was so cool. And I was so glad I went back.
Listen to the
And,
Spirit.
Yeah. When you listen to the Spirit, it always ends really cool.
Yeah.
And that's what makes you want more, is you feed off of that. And I love doing this.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Well, get to the second picture. We want to see the second.
So did you have any experiences with your fireside that were interesting about this?
Yes.
Okay.
It's
He did
always
a fireside recently, and he was saying last night that he had some additional insights from people.
We might have to do another one of these. Okay.
So are you making prints of these and selling them?
That's what I told him.
Yeah.
He had a bunch, I told him to bring them, but
But
then.
he sold them all.
Yeah, they didn't last.
Well, you're
So
gonna
I
make
have
more,
a-
right?
Yeah.
He can take orders for him.
Okay, good.
We'll do
Um,
that.
So, and you can get whatever size you want. This is the actual original size of this painting. I should have brought the original, but I'm scared something's gonna happen.
Let's say where it
Okay.
started, is this where it started?
Yeah, this was the beginning. And when I was done with the first painting, I was so relieved. And I didn't want to do anymore. I'm like, thank you. So
It just
this
gets
was
better.
That's how life
this was
is.
me like fine, and I just started it, and then
You know what it reminds me of? The waters that separated
Yeah.
in the Ten Commandments.
Yeah.
I see that in the.
okay, so I was laying in bed on a Sunday morning, and I had this I saw this, and this is the path of repentance right here. And
It's gorgeous.
I woke up and I got dressed as fast as I could and ran downstairs and I painted this part right here. Been there
You
many
coming from the
times.
dark
Spend
down
a lot
here?
of time over here. And
Is
then
this-
just some highlights. This is where the river is here.
The river of filthy water.
Yeah. I don't know. Can you see both of these at the same time?
Going back
Okay.
and forth, so it's.
Okay, cool. Okay, go to the next one.
Do you work with mud?
With mud?
Yeah, concrete? I mean.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I do all of it. I've done plumbing, electrical, concrete, paint.
Also so cool is he's in the physical construction in life, and then the contrast of the spiritual
Right.
construction and that bridge
Oh,
is really beautiful.
I got to work on the Nauvoo temple,
Wow.
doing the stairs.
Very.
That was cool. That was way cool.
Okay.
So this is the building. This is something else I got wrong. I just started throwing things in. So that's kind of cool to see that. This is, it was,
Were you thinking of the great and spacious building?
yeah, like well, you obviously you can see how it turned out, but this whole section is gone. That one too. It's, and that's
What
kind
did
of
you get wrong?
just how it looks all together. So this is really cool. So this can represent all of us as individuals. So the back here, there's kind of the old style building, like when the earth first started.
Oh, Tower of
then-
Babel kind of a thing?
And that represents that this building's always been here. And on the front, there's a mirage of different time periods on the earth. Like there's a skyscraper, kind of old style. And in the back, it's deteriorating. And there's actually a beam right here. There's his neckline, his shoulders. And he's looking up like he's just in pain. And I didn't even know that was in there. I saw it later. But it looks like it's on fire inside. And I think that's kind of the time period we're in now. This building's crumbling. And this is the Den of Iniquity. And when I painted this, I got home from work and I saw it. And it took about a half an hour. And I took a picture of it and I was up laying in bed and I couldn't sleep, so I just pulled it out and I was looking at it, and there are people, like this kind of represents addiction and things we get into here that causes destruction in our lives. And there's like people down in just drinking it in, like his butt's up in the air right here, and there's a few people right here that are like they're just down in it. And then there's a person here trying to get out. And then
Like wrestling with the pigs?
Satan's sitting.
At the trough of.
I don't know, it's kind
Can
of
you see it from
hard
this
to,
side?
yeah, so if you
Zoom in a little.
zoom in right here,
So who's trying to get out? Show me where that one is.
right here.
there.
So here's his head and his arms right here. He's
Oh,
like,
okay,
he's like trying
pull
to,
himself out, right.
yeah, and this guy's just on his
So those are
stomach and he's
people.
just, yeah.
Holding it down.
Uh-huh. And there's three men right here just like conjuring up lies and deceptions. Right here, 1, 2, 3. And then there's figures over here that are just bowing down to it. And there's figures lying down, like that represents spiritual death. They just go and they lay down.
Oh, wow.
And there's, if you go right here, there's a figure laying right here, and there's their head is right here, and it's like there's a block of concrete around it or something, like weighing their head down. This is the filthy water.
And the ones standing up are probably the leaders, encouraging them to drink.
I didn't see this till later too, but Satan's just sitting here watching all of it. This light right here is his arm. Like he's sitting like this, just watching it. So here's his head right here.
Yeah.
There's his fist under his chin. His arm comes down. There's his shoulder.
He's like cloaked.
Kind of blurry.
Can you see him?
Can you get closer, Nancy, or is that as big as it'll stretch out?
And that water looks like all misty there, like it's like.
Okay, so this is really cool. So
It's enticing to some.
this is this, like you're looking down in it. So this represents the world. And I put this on, when I finished it, I put it on a Facebook group called Hear Him. And there was another artist that he said, "How did you paint that?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He said, "It looks like you could fall down in it, or you're down in it and you have to climb out." I'm like, I had never seen that. I'm like, wow, that. So when I look at that now, that's what I see. It's like, am I down in the hole and need to climb out, or am I like, hey, what's that? You know, it's.
You know, I've seen an image where it's kind of like a labyrinth, but it's under the tree of life. Like you have to go through the labyrinth of it all to finally get to some of that light and try and go up it. I don't know. And it seems to be this light.
Could this be a woman looking sideways with hair coming down?
Probably.
Like an enticement?
People see their own things in them.
Yeah, that does look like a face in there.
But I noticed.
Well, I
when
see
looked at
him
it,
laughing. See his pointed nose and the eye, and his mouth is laughing right on the.
on the lighter.
It's a dark.
Right here?
No,
Yeah, so when I.
right here. And there's his teeth and his eye and the nose and his chin.
Oh, just like a face gobbling up a light.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
This represents the world, and when I painted this, I just went, I'm like, what? I don't know why I did that. But so in the last days, there will be a remnant, the Lord's people, that will leave the world and come out of it. And it doesn't show it here, but in the painting, there's a woman lying on her side right here. Like she's, in Revelations, it talks about the woman, the church is a woman.
Right.
And there's when I painted this right here, I wanted to paint something like that showed a ball of light and then something traveling to another ball of light, and I saw this thing in my mind, and I was trying to paint it, and I saw later there's a dragon in here. There's his head and his wing, like he's falling.
Oh.
And it's like this light is piercing through his heart, and he's falling. But yeah, this represents the remnant that will come out of the world, and the woman is lying here like she's just exhausted, waiting, hoping for the Lord to come back. And the dragon has lost and he's falling. And this is the star of Christ's birth.
I love that.
It's very significant. This is represents light and darkness, that they'll always be fighting. It almost looks like a dragon's taking a bite out of it here, and the light's just, when someone takes a bite of the light, it goes into them, and it's like it just.
So I like on the right picture where you show it's the den of iniquities and everything, and then you have the path of repentance coming from that den of iniquities almost, and coming back.
Yeah, the door's here. So you gotta come through here, out the door, and around.
And then when you come up that path, that's where you grab hold of
The iron rod.
So when I was painting this step right here, it doesn't quite look right, and I think it's because this dives down and this is here and there. So I was flip-flopping the shadow and the highlight back and forth. I'm like, oh, that just, no matter what I do, it doesn't look right. And I got it to where it is now, and I had to go do something, and I thought, well, I'll come back and fix it later, and I just never did. And when I came back to fix it, he said, just leave it.
You know what it looks like to me, that step?
The stumbling block.
Looks to me like you have to take that leap of faith to get over it.
Yes. So I saw myself sitting here in a chair, and this represents giving your whole heart to him. And what was keeping me from doing that is my fear of, when we read the scriptures, what happens to people that follow Christ?
They get
Persecuted, yeah.
For his sake.
You're fighting and standing up for the truth. You're trying to live it. And so I was sitting in this chair, and I saw myself just sitting there, and I'm like, why are you just sitting there? And I finally, I knelt down to pray one day, and he showed me really quickly what that meant. And I stood right back up and I said, nope, I'm not ready for that. And for about a year went by, and it was the lowest point of my life. Everything was wrong. And I was so mad at him because I thought, if I follow you and do these things, I thought things were supposed to be great.
You'll be glad.
Things were great, but when I'd go through something hard and it was impossible, and I'm just, I can't do this anymore. So I was there. It's like he almost, every weight that was on me in my life was either something I did to break a commandment or something someone else did breaking a commandment. And we're the ones that mess things up. God doesn't mess anything up. He's here to help us, and that's it.
TJ?
So you got out of the chair and left forward?
Yes, so I was in that moment, and I thought, I can't even imagine things getting worse. Okay. And in that moment, I stood up out of that chair and I took that step. And the chain represents us shedding that fear and shedding our weaknesses and overcoming
Breaking the
them.
chains of addiction.
What's holding you back from progression? Holding you back.
What's the bright light on the red rock?
This?
Yep.
Yeah.
So in the first painting, it's the stone. In this painting, that's the stone, and it's suspended there because we're kind of suspended here in our choices, and we're deciding. Everything we do is either moving us towards Him or the other way. And I didn't know what that was for a long time. I was telling people it's the light of redemption, but I had an experience where this is me right here trying to get out, and I had a dream where I was just swimming in this, and I was trying to get out, and I put my arm up like it is there, and I remember seeing this from here. And the feeling of, I'm so glad that's there. I always know that's there. And you can see this from anywhere in the painting. If you're here, you can see it. If you're here, you can see it. Just that reminder, when we're in our lowest points and we want to give up.
So
We start looking for that.
There's a lightning bolt coming down in the background in the pink clouds. Is that like?
It's just scary.
Okay.
The storm's coming.
Yeah. Storm. Okay.
And these, I had a woman ask me at the fireside what these were, and I don't know. I was using them to create some depth. So before I painted these, it kind of, it didn't look as far away. But when I put those in, it made the tree actually look like it was bigger and further away.
Right.
They kind of look like a church or a temple, but maybe the temple of Satan or something.
So later I saw there's a figure in here, a cloaked figure. It's like his arm is right here, and his sleeve comes down, and then his other arm is like this, like he's saying, "Hey, come this way."
Right.
You know, this is a really bad place.
Oh, a
It could be
canyon.
the great and abominable church and,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
Well, remember, there's
Well, for the
part-
very elect that have gotten along there and are approaching the tree, there's all the sentinels of evil trying to.
So this is cool. Go up just a teeny bit more. So I was painting the rod of iron, and I started doing a straight line from here to here because the rod of iron's straight. And it looked like a Harry Potter wand just floating in the air. And like, that looks funny. So I must have done this probably 12 angles starting straight coming this way, and when I got to here it was like, oh, that looks perfect. And I don't know why that happened, but this path right here is the path of Christ. Of course, the rod of iron, that represents the Word of God. That's us learning about Him. And the white fire represents that we're serious about learning from Him, that He knows when we give our heart to Him, we can't fake that. And so when I saw the white fire coming out of it, that represents that we're actually grabbing onto it to learn from Him instead of just faking it or going through the motions. And there's I was trying to make it look like there was fire coming out of it in different places along the rod. So I painted this, and if you see, there's a face
There's a
right
face, yes, I can see it.
there. And then there's a hand.
Ancestors?
There's a hand right here.
Oh, yeah, look
And
at that.
he's standing like this.
Yes.
I was just gonna say, one of the things I love is, you say you've only finished 3 paintings, but
There were like 50
these paintings are like lives. Like we come to this life and we discover things. We make lots of mistakes. We have to change them. We're not just looking at the final masterpiece. And you're literally being taught gospel principles through these paintings, but higher things. So it's as much for you, but it's also for all of us.
Yeah.
It's just amazing how God's using this to.
I love this that the Word is God. The Word is Christ Himself. Like,
And
come
He's
in,
beckoning you
return
to
to me,
come.
return to
Yes.
me, return to me, and that it's a person. That's it. Look, people think it's a rod that you hold on to, but you're really holding on to Him.
So
Yes.
I had seen the hand, and I was putting that there purposefully, so that the hand of God. But this was, I didn't do this.
Yeah.
That just happened.
It looks like robes coming down.
Yeah, like
there.
he's got a. So this isn't how it ended up. When I saw the face in it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to make that look more like. So, yeah, I mean, this is how it ended up looking.
Can
I share
Ancestors
something?
Who's the other girl over there? But that's not the tree of life. What is that?
So
Robin
this
needs
is-
that, she wants to say.
Just one thing. We went down, a lot of you guys went down and went to the panel along, it was carved on the walls.
Yeah.
And
And
heroin or no?
it's kind of down that way.
10
but-
mile something canyon or
Yeah,
something.
so we went down, but on it, it showed that there was like a tree of the 2 different directions, and then the root came down, and that's where the rod, like of this existence, to follow it. If you followed it, you kind of followed around the crags in the rock. Literally, it was on a rock, and you had to go around the crags on the rock, and then you passed people that were saying, come here, come here. I mean, this was a petroglyph. And then it showed that it went below the tree of life, but then it went through the body of a man. Looked like Christ. And then it had balls of fire on the other hand. So you went through the one hand, go through the body of the Christ, and the trail then continued winding up to the tree that was up on the hill.
Wow.
And so I'm like, oh my gosh, it's almost like this path, you have to follow light, right? You pass through the false doctrine that would like to lure you into false canyons, going through the body of Christ. Literally, I counted your layers like on a cake, right? it's like you're going up the mountain and there's the 7 layers. You're getting up to that tree of life, but in the one on the canyon wall, the tree had human feet. And so it really looked like that a heavenly mother or aspect of this conduit that you can go through the heavens. There's a light that goes through that to go up to the celestial spheres. Like you don't really get to experience on this earth. But that to me is very much like literally a petroglyph from hundreds of years ago on a wall. So pretty amazing.
Well, this is doctrinal too in the Jacob's ladder. And
Right.
Well, yeah, it's the same.
Ascending.
Everybody's used these different images, but I'm like, that is so powerful that it's the hand and the face.
So tell us about
Beautiful.
this side over
The
here.
Yeah,
woman.
this side. Those are the fountain of living waters coming from the tree.
Mm-hmm.
And who's the young girl? Just someone who has tasted and drinking from them, or?
Okay, so I have to tell you this first. There's another one. Can you go back to all of them? Or wait, go, let's see. I'll keep going.
No water
No, the other
there.
way.
No water there. Wow, that really evolved.
Keep going. Keep going. That one. Okay.
Whoa, you have changed this so many times.
Yeah.
So I want to see
So
side.
this is the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
Interesting.
And it's right by that
Fountain of
good
living
waters.
So it represents our time here. Like each piece of fruit would maybe represent an experience we went through and overcame here, or it's just symbolic of us. We can always partake of that, like when you think back to your wedding day, or a great moment, or maybe a scary moment, or anything that affects us in a great way.
Childbirth.
Yeah.
It's something that impacted our lives and that we grew from, right?
Mhm. And that's what Eve wanted when she partook of that fruit, is what we're doing here now. We're learning, we're growing, we're ascending and descending. But I took this was my idea of how it looked, and I don't know why I changed it, but it didn't. When I painted this is so weird. I painted the fruit in there, and about a month later I was painting something else, and my pinky hit one of the pieces of fruit, and it was still wet after a month.
Wow.
And he said, wipe it off. What? It's still wet. So I just wiped all the fruit off, and I still don't know why. But
Because it
this
looks
is
like
how
the fruit, the pure light fruit, is on the other tree.
Yeah, and I'm glad I took a picture of this though, because
Yeah.
it did have fruit.
Interesting.
And Brittany, the girl that modeled for Eve, her son was seeing spirits, and he referred to them as a pumpkin light or something. And so when she told me that, I was like, man, those look like little lit up pumpkins on there. And so I made a print of that and gave it to him, and told him to always remember his gift of seeing spirits.
So this one right here?
Yeah.
There's another scripture that is really powerful, and it's in Proverbs, and she's calling it the gate of the temple, but it says don't go to the stranger, right? It's another woman, but she's a stranger. She's not on that same path, so she will lead you. It looks like to a garden, but it's the wrong garden. She's not of the fruit of the tree of life. So those that are seeking the higher knowledge, there's good. You can have good, or you can have really good. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just seeing it because I'm doing so much stuff with women, but there's definitely the Lord presents both, and the one looks good, and a lot of times in marriage, right, the guy's thinking, well, this wife, my normal married wife in my life, is hard, and this other looks so delicious. It's a very it's an easier lower path, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice, it has lots of promise there. So I'm glad he took the fruit off. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
No, well, but see, Christ with the parable of the fig tree, I mean, the interesting thing is it looked so perfect, but then the fruits
had no
weren't
fruit.
bearing. Like,
Right.
the tree was beautiful, but it wasn't
Didn't bear
bearing the
fruit.
fruit of the purpose of
Of the
life.
correct fruit, yeah, what you really want. So there's so many ways to get off on this path, right? I mean, there's more ways to get off than there are ways to stay on.
So what's the rest of where the girl is in that little like?
Okay, so this is a dream I had, and it was, and I'm not sure when it happened, because there's elements of it that are from my past, and there's also elements of it that are in the future. But it felt like home, like we go through something and then we go home, and we go through something and we go home, and that's how the only way I could wrap my head around it was because there's an element of I've been here before and I'm gonna be there again. And so this was I was learning how to organize things, and everything in this space was, I could feel it like I was part of it. I could feel the water moving, feel the I was building a temple for my house, and I organized the seeds to plant the trees, and the trees grew, and they knew they were going to be part of my home. And you can feel, I've had people ask me about reincarnation, and so there's no reason for it. You feel everything, and everything feels you. And it's just this understanding of they love being what they are, and they chose that thing, and they can feel us, and they can feel the love we have for them, because they're necessary for us to have this experience. And they choose what, everything chooses its own, what it is.
Or the dog and a cat.
Yeah. And so I was being tutored in how to do this, and it was the space of the area was what my capacity could handle at the moment.
Wow.
And so I stopped, and I was just enjoying the sunset, and my daughter came up over the hill, and she had organized and created and picked the colors of this butterfly, and like they did it together, and it would fly away, and every time she put her finger up, it'd come land on her finger, and she'd whisper to it, and like she was just playing with it, and she just made her way up to me, and I was just enjoying watching her do this. And she came up and she said, "Dad, look, I made this butterfly for you in case you're ever sad or lonely." And then that was the end of the dream. And when I was getting ready to go on my mission, I had a lot to repent of, and I was trying to make amends with people I'd stolen from and hurt and doing all of that. And I was getting close to where I had got my call, and I was in my backyard, and I said, I can't go on a mission until I know that you've forgiven me for all this stuff. And I just fell asleep, and then when I woke up, there was this monarch butterfly on my chest. And it was just sitting there looking at me, just opening and closing its wings, and I just had this overwhelming feeling that I had been forgiven of all this stuff. And so that's how it's in the past and the future. It's just,
So it feels more like it's our learning space, right? That's our experiential.
Or this is our learning experience, and when we're
This is our
refined. This is our home space.
I had the feeling that is during the millennium.
Oh, that's beautiful.
We're going to be healing and learning, and we're going to be healing a lot.
Oh, I like that a lot better. That's much better. Because it's so beautiful, but I'm like, well, the living waters are there. You have to get to it.
Yeah, when you die, it isn't just automatically, oh, everything's great. You still have to go through everything you did. And imagine not having your body when you're trying to do that.
Right.
That's amazing.
question. So, you know, in genealogy, they teach you that you do your genealogy, and as you do it, your ancestors heal as well, and that there's some healing. Have you had any experiences with your art where you have felt that ancestral thing going on?
Absolutely. It's in the 4th painting now.
So you're working on another one.
I guess I can share that with you. If I can.
What's good to eat?
Yeah, we want to see Eve.
Well, I don't think you're about everybody.
I know.
Tree of life.
Finish this thought first.
So what he showed me is there's an archway, and it's where you walk through to come to earth. And Eve was standing at the head of it, and Adam, and everything. And I saw people walking through their ancestors all the way to Eve. And when you'd walk past through that person, you'd spend time with them. Like you could spend as much time as you wanted with them, and they would teach you and things that they had learned, and you could stay there as long as you wanted, or you could pass right through them. But you pick up traits from every single one. And
DNC 123.
And so, but Eve is standing, Adam and Eve are at the head of that. And even Christ and Mary and everyone, they all go through Adam and Eve around the earth. And so yeah, that's I'm very interested in that now.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Okay, so this right here. So these are when you see pictures of space, you see things like this, and that's just intelligence and things that are out there that have always been there. So before I painted this, I was like, what goes here? You know, I don't. Sometimes I'll just paint things that, and it kind of happens in that moment. And he said that you need to put something there that represents the beginning of life. And then he leaves. Like, okay. So I have to figure it out.
Well, I see a boy. I see a boy.
Yeah,
his
so-
arm, the side of his profile of his face,
So I just sat in my chair and I
and a mother next to him.
yeah, there's hidden things in this. So I was trying to, I'm like, is it something like this, or something like this? The beginning of life. I had to and I read the scriptures and I was trying to figure it out. And when I finally painted it, I got, and this was weird because I get the dark colors first, and I paint the basic shape of it, and then I come back later and add the highlights and the light parts. But I just put yellow and white on my palette, and I'm like, is this right? Yeah. So I started in the middle, and I was just trying to paint something like this, or I don't know, I just started. Sometimes he says just start and this thing happens. And so I painted it how it is, and I was sitting in my chair looking at it, and like, it's all wrong, that's stupid, that's nothing, there's nothing even there. And when I would paint, I'd paint on top of the paint that was there. Like he said, paint the furthest thing away and then move towards you. And so it's just everything stacked on top of each other. That's what gives it that, like you can walk into it. And so I was sitting there looking at it, and I looked over on the dark side over here, and when I look back, there's a man right here. Here's his head, his shoulder,
Yeah, and his arm.
and
I
the
see it.
woman. So he's hugging her from behind, like this is her hair. Her shoulder's here, and then there's a child right here. There's his head, and the mother and the child are actually, their heads are touching right here, and then they're all facing the light in the middle.
There's a
And
woman
so-
behind him too. Can you see her?
There's
Oh, okay.
things.
Oh yeah.
There's a mother elephant right here, and a baby elephant, and they're touching
Oh
trunks.
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
There's a child right here, in the womb. There's a fetus right here, and then after it's more formed, you can see the face.
Oh. Pull it down a little bit, Mike, so we can see the, no.
I think that's
No.
it's kind of on its way out.
Oh, okay.
Right here, see the child right here?
Oh, okay.
And the fetus.
Oh, I see it, yeah.
And there's so they're all facing the light in the middle, so the man, the woman, and the child. And I believe this is Christ. And they're all facing the light in the middle, the light of truth. Okay, so when I painted the Milky Way,
Whoa, go
it
there.
was
That's
it
Yeah,
was
zoom in, Mike, on the Milky Way there.
I was going through a rough spot when I painted this. If you can go to the, let's see, go back. It's the first time. That one. Okay, this, I kind of highlighted it later after I saw these things. But there's a lion right here. Here's his eye. His nose comes down there and his snout. So the bottom of his eye is right here. There's his eye. And his nose there's his nose right here and his mouth. Maybe zoom in a little more. No, back out. You might be able to see it here a little better. So here's his eye. His nose comes, it's kind of a profile side view. And then, so the lion is also, the father is right here. Here's his nose, his eye right here, his cheek. So the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. So when I was trying to paint the Milky Way, and I'm like, it just looks dumb. It doesn't look right. And so I was in my mind. I was like, I have to change it. I have to make it look right. And every time I'd go down to, something would come up, and I'm like, and I'd have to leave. And one day I went down and I actually mixed the paint colors all together because I was gonna fix it. And it was like he was standing between me and the painting, and it's like he just pushed me away.
That's cool.
He said, "Don't touch it." And that I got upset. I'm like, "You don't want me to paint." So I threw my palette down and I actually put a sheet over the painting, and I didn't work on it for 4 months. And I was just pouting. And I saw myself like when you see a kid in Walmart who doesn't get a candy bar, so he's just screaming on the floor. So when I started looking in here, because I was just in a really bad place. And whenever I do that, that's when the good starts. I could have done more in the situation to help. I was lazy. I was, the things you don't want to admit. And that's when I saw the lion. When I was like, I was apologizing to him and making up. And so I pulled my phone out and I was just looking at the painting. And that's when I saw all this. Is when I started repenting. And so I saw the lion. And then if you don't see it, don't feel bad. Anyone see it?
I have a hard time.
I had a hard time seeing
My mom still can't see it. Like whenever she comes over, I'm like, "Okay, he's right here." But once you see it, that's all you see. But I can tell you the meaning of everything. So the Father is also a lion, and there's a hint of a woman right here. There's her nose, her cheekbone, and it's like her mouth is open. There's her top lip and her bottom lip comes down here. And there's a rib connecting them.
Wow.
And the Son is in the middle, and there's a crown that's over all three of them. That's how they're one. And then the Holy Ghost is here, and he's also, it looks like the book of life opened up. The seam is right down the middle, and the book is open, and here's his eye, and his nose, and his mouth would be down here. It's like there's just little, almost like abstract, kind of hidden. But they're always watching over us. And when I saw the lion, I don't know, the lion's significant. the male lion keeps balance. Like he'll even kill some of the cubs if they're getting at, making waves in the balance of things, like he did with Satan.
Right.
And then,
It's interesting, you might be able to see that best when you're right here in this lowest place where the chain has broken, this bottom corner.
oh yeah,
Your perspective would be right to them.
yeah, and it's like he's looking over at this area, like I'm watching you, and he's protecting us like a lion. He's very protective of us. And so I don't know, I think that that's very significant that he's all of those things in one. And then there's the law, the 10 Commandments here.
Oh, yeah.
And if you look, there's a child hiding, like they're crouched down.
Yeah.
The head's here, and it's like they're looking down at the tree of life. The eyes, that little star right there. The knee is right here, like their back comes down to their bum, their leg.
Oh, yeah.
And the Holy Ghost
Point to it behind
goes
you.
into the head of the child hiding, like he's protecting us. When something traumatic happens when we're a child, we forget it sometimes if it's traumatic enough.
Point to the screen. You can see it.
Oh, this is a different one, right? Did you have the final one? Which one of these is the final one?
Let's see if you
I
go.
don't think
Maybe
he
I
has a
don't
final
know.
one on there.
I don't think that's. I think I
It would
missed
be
it
down
some-
further. Oh, this is the final one right here.
Yeah, but.
Let's see.
Because the earth is the thing I'm seeing different at the
Oh.
top.
Yeah, so this right here, this represents the very first creation.
Oh, wow.
I don't know much about that right now. Just that this is the first earth being created. I believe this is Kola or something to do with that.
Is that the one behind you?
This here?
No,
Mm,
the John.
Yeah, this here. And that's and when I'm painting this, I'm just like, oh, this is so cool. And later I see all these hidden things, and then as I'm looking at them, he'll teach me what they are. And so we'll never stop learning, and it's once I figure out kind of what it is, then he'll add to it as I ponder it and think about it. And sometimes I'll just sit down in my basement and look at him, and he'll teach me things in greater depth.
So beautiful.
Well, so in front of the little girl with the butterfly, down at the very front of the living waters, right there by her feet, there's a bunch of, is those lily pads or?
Are they stones?
What are they?
These?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're stones in the water.
Okay.
So who's the girl? Is that?
That's my daughter.
That is your butterfly.
In the dream, she made the butterfly, and she was
Making
so.
it for you.
The reason she's standing here is because I have not gone through here yet. She's there to remind me.
This is where you need.
This is where you want to go.
It's almost like you have the lighted stones on the ground, like
These are
footsteps.
fireflies,
Leading away.
and this is the gateway to the
Millennial reign.
the terrestrial world.
It's beautiful.
That is gorgeous. You have a palm tree in there.
Yeah, palm trees are cool.
Where's it? Oh, over there. I see on the water.
Well, and it's like you can decide what is in your space. You know, it was whatever you can imagine.
Was that a palmetto from South Carolina?
Yes. All right, I think we covered all
Should we
this
do
one.
Eve?
Oh, there's a dragon right here.
In the darkness. Oh, you see.
So I'd come downstairs to paint. He's right here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd come downstairs to paint, and it's like I started seeing a dragon in there, and I'm like, I'm not putting a dragon in the painting. And I was picturing like Elliot's dragon or something. And and I finally, and he said, well, there's a dragon in the painting. And I'm like, okay, well, it has to look, I'm gonna hide it. Like I don't want it to stand out. He's like, that's fine. And so I go down to paint, and I said, why am I putting a dragon in there? He said, what's the dragon doing? I said, it's flying towards me. And that's where he kind of left it.
Like it wants to swoop down on them.
The dragon,
Those that follow Christ be under attack.
Wow.
Zoom in on
Okay.
All right,
That's amazing. We're loving this. This is so beautiful.